Welcome to the Women's Health Summit, DBJ's inaugural Women's Health Summit, presented by Intermountain Health. It is truly an honor to be in a room filled with passion, ambition, and the drive to cultivate not only successful careers, but also fulfilling lives. I'm Keith Dennis, Market President and Publisher here at the Denver Business Journal, and today's event is more than just gathering. It's a movement towards balance, empowerment, and well-being. In the fast-paced world we navigate daily, the challenge of maintaining mental and physical health while striving for career excellence is real. But here's the truth. Everyone can take charge of our well-being, redefine what balance looks like, and create a culture that uplifts. Today's event would not have been possible without the commitment to women's health that our title sponsor, Intermountain Health, brings to our community. Their mission is to help people live the healthiest life possible through quality, sustainable, affordable care. Please take a moment to look at the screen. Please welcome to the stage Melissa Rapp, Behavioral Health Program Manager with Intermountain Health.
Good morning, everybody. I am going to go off script for 1 second here. Wow. Wow, take a look around you and look at all these amazing, brilliant, powerful women here in Denver. This is incredible. Thank you for being here at today's inaugural Women's Health Summit. As you heard, I am Melissa Rapp. I am the Behavioral Health Program Manager for Intermountain Health, and I am excited to share with you today our organization's vision and commitment. Our mission is to help people live the healthiest lives possible. This is both a statement and a guiding principle in everything that we do. We believe that health encompasses your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional well-being. And our goal is to provide comprehensive care which supports people on that journey towards a healthier and more fulfilling life. Because that's the goal, right? I specifically want to emphasize our unwavering commitment to women's health. At Intermountain Health, we recognize that women have unique health challenges, and we are dedicated to increasing access to essential health programs, to providing education, preventative services, and treatment options that are tailored to women's health needs. And we strive to ensure that all women have the support and resources that they need to thrive. Speaking from personal experience, as a woman who certainly understands some of those unique health needs, I'm incredibly grateful to be part of an organization with this commitment. One area in particular that's close to my heart, as you might have guessed from my job title, is behavioral health. And when I say behavioral health, it's an umbrella term which encompasses both mental health and substance use. Both of these things can be difficult and often uncomfortable to talk about. And so I would invite you during today's event to lean into that uncomfortable. And it's in these moments that we truly can move mountains on the culture of stigma that follows behavioral health. Our programs at Intermountain Health and our behavioral health programs are designed to provide compassionate, empowering, and evidence-based care in order to support women in moments of managing stress, anxiety, depression, or any behavioral health experience that might walk into your life. A few of these services I want to highlight include our women's health and our maternal health services, maternal mental health, I missed an important phrase there, maternal mental health services, our pediatric behavioral health services, our integrated mental health and primary care, and our integrated addictions clinic, and our suicide prevention programs and campaigns. I'm also incredibly proud to share that we have a dedicated mental health and well-being offering for our staff. And as many of you probably know or could guess, that's relevant to this topic because women encompass quite a large percentage of the healthcare workforce. So in closing, I want to extend my deep gratitude to everyone here today for both your commitment to well-being, to your engagement in today's event, and a special thank you to Denver Business Journal and 9 News for the invaluable partnership which brought this event to life. And it is together that we, all of us, collectively advance women's health, and that will positively impact the future for everybody. So thank you and enjoy today.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you so much, Intermountain, for your continued partnership and for helping us launch this inaugural year for the Women's Health Summit. I'd also like to thank our supporting sponsor, Cigna Healthcare. Let's hear a little bit more about Cigna. Take a look.
By design.
Thank you, Cigna. Recognizing the importance of women's health, we'd like to thank our academic sponsor, University of Denver Daniels College of Business. I hope you all have also had a chance to visit all the expo booths this morning. If you didn't, there will still be time to do so at the end of the event today. A big thank you to our expo sponsor, Blue Sky CBD and Colorado School of Public Health, along with all of our nonprofit partners exhibiting today. All of these partners can be found on your table centerpiece, so please make sure you stop by on your way out today. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you today's MC, who's going to take it over for me, our very own editor-in-chief, Courtney Gears of the Denver Business Journal. Please welcome Courtney to the stage.
I'd be a fearless leader, I'd be an alpha type, when everyone believes ya. What's that like? I'm so sick
A little
of
too swift for everyone. I hope you appreciate that. I just want to take a moment to thank all of the servers providing this wonderful lunch. If you can give them a round of applause. And thank you to Keith. I'm excited to get this program started. Throughout this event, we will hear from inspiring voices, leaders who have forged paths of success while prioritizing health and happiness. Our featured guest will set the tone with insights that empower, followed by an engaging panel discussion where local business leaders will discuss the integration of health and health-adjacent strategies at work. So I encourage you to lean in, absorb the wisdom in this room, and take away ideas that will spark change, whether for yourself, your workplace, or the women around you. Because when we support each other, we elevate the entire community. So let's get started. Leading today's discussion with our featured guest is no stranger to Denver, 9 News anchor Kim Christiansen. Let's give her a round of applause.
generations of blazing a trail.
Not only did Kim grow up in Colorado, but she has also been with 9 News for her entire career, climbing the ranks from writer and associate producer for the 6 a.m. broadcast. She also serves as the spokesperson for the Buddy Check 9 program, which encourages people to find a buddy to call and remind them to get screened or checked for cancer or illness, and speaks to dozens of community groups about the importance of self-exam and mammography. Please welcome Kim. Thank you.
I got my walk-up song twice, which is really nice and special. I've never had a walk-up song. So excited to be here with everyone today. Such an important topic. I think it's very personal for many of us when we talk about some of the things that you all are addressing, and specifically our mental health and our well-being. I also have to tell you, usually when I'm doing an event, it's nice because I hear from the people in charge. They let me know, and we chat a little bit about it. Rarely do I get emails and phone calls and people that stop me going, oh my God, you're gonna meet Kendall Toole. And it's like been nonstop. I'm like, yeah, oh my goodness, okay. And then everybody said, make sure you cover your arms because your arms don't look like hers. So right there, I made some good decisions today, I think, to get things going. But I don't want to waste any minute of your time or hearing from Kendall. So let me just tell you a little bit about her first, and because I have tired eyes, late shift. Let me read a little bit as I get to the questions too that we think are super important. We're really blessed to have her here today. She is so well known, and I hope that many of you have taken the time to listen to her speak in podcasts and other forms. By the way, YouTube channel, subscribe. And you can hear a lot of what Kendall has to say. She has a lot to say. She is a top fitness instructor, community builder, mental health advocate, content creator, and lifestyle entrepreneur on a purpose-driven mission to really empower others. That's what we all want to do, right? She has a background in performance and fitness, having spent time as a multi-sport athlete, amateur boxer, and an actress. After graduating from USC's prestigious School of Cinematic Arts, she embarked on a career in content production at a leading social media platform where she could realize her drive to change culture and empower communities, particularly women, to step into their light. And this led Kendall to her former role at Peloton, which really catapulted her into pop culture stardom and a virtual reach on social media. She quickly became an influential name in health and fitness and amassed a very loyal fan base, as we can all attest to, through her ability to stay never knocked out. Outside of fitness, Kendall advocates for causes closer to her heart. She's passionate about destigmatizing mental health and standing as a change maker for how society approaches 360 wellness. Please welcome Kendall Toole. There you go. We're so excited you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Now I feel like I'm like, oh wait, hold on, let me hide this.
Tell me, don't you just lick it off the arms?
Oh my gosh, you guys, stop. No,
they're awesome.
Boxing.
Is that it?
Boxing and weight training, absolutely yes.
I know
Ladies,
about the
lift
weighting
weights,
training, but I
please.
never thought about boxing helping so much with the arms.
Yes, and the mental. That's really what got me into fitness, was being able to have that that mental brain connection. And let's be real, we're women. We got a lot going on. We have internal rage. We're allowed to let it out. And letting it out in a functional way is really great instead of keeping it all inside. So I highly recommend boxing, as many of you may know, but you will know in the future very soon too. So
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. Well, there are so many things we want to touch on, and we're going to kind of hit as many topics as we can in the time that we're allowed.
All good.
But Peloton is how so many people know you.
Yeah.
You really kind of burst into the scene during the pandemic,
Yeah.
in particular. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how that came about.
Well, I think a lot of you who do have Peloton, you'll know a name, and this name very well, Cody Rigsby. Yes, give him a round. He'll hear you inadvertently. He'll get the tingles on the inside and know he's loved. Cody is a gem. And so the best DM slide I ever got on social media was from Cody Rigsby. Go figure that one. And he was asking if I wanted to audition for Peloton. At the time, I had no idea what Peloton was. And I'm a big believer, partly growing up in Los Angeles and going to USC. I had a lot of people tell me, hey, fake it till you become it. And he was like, hey, do you teach cycling? And I said, yes. And that was a bold-faced lie. I had taken 2 SoulCycle classes and was like, I can do this. Debatable. But we figured it out. So long story short, he reached out. I flew to New York, auditioned. I was on camera. It felt really natural. It blended my life before and what I loved doing in teaching fitness. And then the journey began. And about, 3 months after that, September 2019, I launched on the platform. And then I think many of you probably connected, and we got to meet virtually come the pandemic. And then I was at Peloton for 6 years until this past June. So yeah, it was a beautiful journey there.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so many, your name is the one name, whether you're somebody that does the Peloton or not, that people associate with Peloton, which is wonderful.
Yeah, yes, I think I have a tendency to speak without a filter, particularly when working out. Thank you, I heard a woo. Yeah, my girl, you get it. Oh yeah, we bonded before this about which eye was dominant. I'm not gonna it's a triangle thing. It's making no sense. But anyway, yes, so where was my train of thought? Hold please. Buffering.
You were talking about associated your name with Peloton.
Yes, thank you. Chick Talk, that's where we're going. That's where we're going with this. So I happened to speak a name, someone's leaderboard name, which is kind of like their handle or their username. And it was probably not the most kosher thing to say. And it was a bit of an innuendo, and I did not realize it. I got. And then someone put it on the internet. And it went very viral, and then that became a thing. So yes, that's where.
However it happens.
It happens, you know, it was authentic, it was real. It still happens today. I still say things clearly and want to stuff them back in my mouth after I say them. So some things never change.
It's called being authentic.
True.
It's good. One of the things I heard, in particular, actually from one of my coworkers, loved your Father's Day rides.
I hear that a lot.
And he said, what was it? How did she put that together? What was her motivation for the Father's Day rides? Like, honestly, that was the one he looks forward to.
Yes.
What was it?
Well, I think in the process of getting this wonderful, beautiful opportunity with Peloton and building a community, it was difficult. I'll be very transparent. I was from California. I was in New York City, living a dream, but also a cute little tiny apartment and going through COVID. And I wanted to find ways to connect more to the people beyond the screen. It always moved me knowing that every name, every like on Instagram or every, leaderboard name, that's a person. And that's a person with a story. That's a person that's going through difficult things, just like we all were, whether we show it or not. And, I have a great relationship with my dad. I'm very grateful for him. And he provided, and we have a family motto that I would close out my classes with that some of you may know. And he would always say, he's like, they can knock you down, but they can never knock you out. So I wanted, for this Father's Day ride I was able to do, I wanted to pay him an homage, and I put all of his favorite music. I asked him to send me his favorite stuff. It was all classic rock. It was all dad rock, which we love. I love it. Hey, listen, Radar Love and, Don't Stop Believin' Journey. I'm like, Dad, it's a little cliche, but I love it. I love it. We'll do it. So yeah, so it was just kind of a beautiful ride to honor a great father and a great man and a masculine figure in my life who got me through alongside my mom and the people that supported me in my mental health chapter.
Yeah, I think that's so important, that relationship with your parents, but the father-daughter relationship is second to none in so many ways, and people really, really connected with that. They also want to know a little bit about your business entrepreneurial journey, and that would be both pre-Peloton and post-Peloton, because that's how you got into the Peloton. I mean, they knew who you were and what you were doing, and you had that it factor.
Yes, so Peloton was an incredible experience, obviously, because it provided the opportunity to reach a ton of people at scale. So I love teaching classes, but in a traditional fitness class, you can maybe teach at max 40 people. Well, that went from 40 to 40,000 in 24 hours. And then it was 100,000 by the end of the week and 250 in 2 weeks. So because it was an opportunity to reach so many people, I definitely felt in the times that I would go home and kind of sit in the silence, and it was a strange thing. And I think you can completely understand this. You're on camera, you have your tally lights, it's high pressure, you thrive under that. And then when you can go home and kind of relax and think, wow, there's all these other people on the other side of that screen that I have a relationship with, but I can't show up beyond this kind of scope that I have. So what was really cool about the Peloton experience was being able to think, okay, how can we take that experience and deepen it? How can we talk about things that matter? How can we leverage this beautiful platform and this relationship and really make it impactful to somebody else? So in the process of COVID, I was sitting alone and I was like, I have this part of me that I think a lot of people don't know. I was presenting as like the California fake blonde, bubbly girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah, anybody who knows, I'm naturally brunette. I'm Sicilian, guys. It is what it is. We spend a lot on it. But what was interesting was I felt like I wasn't able to fully present who I was. And I was keeping something for myself that was inauthentic by pretending to kind of be this archetype of who I was being perceived to be. So I remember it was, I want to say, probably March 2020, so peak pandemic, sitting in my tiny little studio apartment, and I just went on Instagram Live, and I was like, hey, I want to talk about mental health. And I had been diagnosed with anxiety and depression my senior year of college, went through a very difficult, very dark chapter. And it felt, I don't know what it was, it just felt like it was time to share something because there was the opportunity to help other people. I knew there was a lot of stress, a lot of depression, a lot of people who were very frightened, validly so, by lockdown and what it was doing to their family units and their interpersonal life. And it just felt like the right thing to say. And I did not realize how impactful that would be. And I would do Instagram Lives every day, and we'd start having these conversations. And it was an aha moment, recognizing, oh, wow, there's so many other people who are dealing with this. There's so many other people who haven't been able to speak about it. And then I pushed to integrate that into my work at Peloton. So it took some time. We got the company to kind of warm up to the idea because it was obviously mental health and they had valid concerns legally, whatnot. But I was able to push, and we produced the Mental Health Awareness Series. That became an initiative for the company. They're still doing the classes. They had a wonderful class. I believe Allie Love did it 2 weeks ago, and they're still doing it at Peloton, which makes me really happy to see that impact continuing there. But in talking about mental health and moving that needle forward. So it started wanting to be entrepreneurial internal within Peloton and help others in that way. And now what I'm looking forward to in this next chapter, once this non-compete is done, is continuing that work as well in mental health and fitness to continue that reach to community.
Well, it's so important, and at a time when we all felt so isolated and really removed from the people that support us sometimes, and being in groups is helpful as well. But mental health is a topic that doesn't easily come forward for a lot of people.
Absolutely not.
So, and when you touched on this is something that really kind of became aware for you as a young person. You're that classic overachiever.
Yes.
Like type A, top level, and you've always been successful. But then it also got dangerous and life-threatening when you talk about it in college and when it came to be. And what is it that worked for you? I mean, besides the fact that your mom came to your rescue.
Yeah, and I'm very happy and very open to share this story. I shared it on the Today Show, I think 3 or 4 years ago with Carson Daly, and he was wonderful. And
it is great.
Thank you.
Look it up.
Yeah, it's pinned on my Instagram. It's very emotional. And there's a lot of, obviously we're women in this room, and there's also a lot of mothers in this room. And the number one thing I will tell you is thank God for my mom. I'm not going to cry. But that maternal instinct is very real. And in the darkest chapter, so this was senior year of college, again, presenting very well to the rest of the world.
You're doing it all.
I was cheering. I was
at USC.
I was at USC. I was in the film program. From the external, everything was great. And I had a ton of wonderful privilege in my life that allowed me to be there and work very hard, but I had a lot of internal pressure on myself. And so while I could mask and present as this very bubbly together kid, internally the colors were just fading. It would be like life was Technicolor and it slowly disintegrated into shades of gray and black and white. And at a very difficult night, I was in my apartment building and I went up to the rooftop and I felt like I couldn't anymore. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
We can get tissues. But it's amazing. It's been a decade and it still hits. And that night, that moment, so much of that moment before was wanting to keep up the mask for other people and not be a burden to the people that I loved. And I look back at that girl now, and I love her dearly. I've learned to love her dearly. But thank you for that. Perfect timing, I love it. But in learning to love that part of myself, here, let me give you this doll.
Thank you.
I have more if anybody needs it. Not that many, but we'll figure it out. We can share. But in that moment before, there was so much shame and there was so much isolation, self-inflicted isolation. And I look back at that girl now and I'm like, wow, on one hand, thank goodness that I went through that, because it's led to this. It's led to having something to say and being given a platform and being able to now do something with it that I do think matters. But even more importantly, it was the opportunity to help start a healing process in my own family. My mom was calling me, my phone was on silent, and moments before, and I just saw it light up. And I had 15 missed calls from my mom. We hadn't spoken in probably 8 hours. And so I will tell you, when you guys know and you get the tingles about something and you're like, they're not right, something's not right, please listen to it. And I want to encourage you to always listen to that gut voice and that part of yourself, because it's valued. And I think women have an incredible ability to have that intuition. And it's very special. But then after that night, I picked up the phone and I said, hey, can you come pick me up? And I did not tell my parents how close that moment was until about 3 years later. It took a lot of processing and therapy. I think I was afraid to admit that to myself for a long time. But in moving forward with life and then working at a very big tech startup and having that be an interesting culture and pivoting into fitness, what I didn't understand at the time was how those dots end up eventually connecting. When you're going through deep struggles or you're going through these mental health chapters or these darker valleys, so to speak, or these shadow periods, it can feel all encompassing and it can feel like there's no movement forward or there's stagnation. But in hindsight and in the looking back, it's like, wow, that shadow wasn't there to be a moment of suffering and to be a shameful period that I have to hide. That was actually providing the contrast to the light that would come later. Yeah. And to the power that would come later and to the purpose that would come after that. So going through that period I'm deeply grateful for, and I'm grateful for her. And I encourage anybody listening today, if you are going through a shadowy period or you know someone who is, to not try to force it to be different or better or put a mask on it or try to paint it to look something other than what it is, but to meet it for where you are and to go and work through those steps to not only find support, but to allow it to be a part of your person, because it does help define your purpose and your power and your light, because it does refine you in a way that's really powerful and really beautiful.
I love how you say you love that person of 10 years ago, because you have to love that person too.
Yes.
You really have to.
You do. You have to. We all have chapters in our lives and things that we've done when we look back and we're like, oh gosh, and we can sit there and be embarrassed about it, or we can try to hide that chapter of who we are. But that's such a part of the shaping of who we become. And it really is. If you can go back and love yourself when you could have done a little better or maybe didn't know any differently, it makes it so much easier to trust your steps moving forward, knowing that you came from that and you're here now. And so whatever comes next, you'll be able to handle as well.
Exactly. You talked a lot about some changes you made, lifestyle changes, therapy, medication. It's a toolkit that you refer to.
Yes.
So what would you say to anyone here who's kind of hesitant to decide how they get that toolkit together?
Yes. So first and foremost, I would love to share a couple of resources. There's a great organization called Project Healthy Minds. And if you go on projecthealthyminds.org, they have kind of it's not even an intake form, it's almost a quiz where it can say, hey, how are you feeling? What are you looking for? What types of support are you looking for? And that can help connect you with a mental health provider or a different community, like a NAMI community group that helps in what you're dealing with, so you can build those bridges and connections. But first and foremost, if you are in that period, you're not sure where to begin, I actually want to do this with you guys, if you're all good with this. I think everyone's done eating, so yeah, we're good? Everyone's down? A nod? Okay, mumbles, nods, that works. Okay, so I want to teach you guys something that's really been powerful for me that you can do anywhere, that no one even needs to know you're doing it. And it's breathing. You're going to laugh at me. You're like, yeah, I do that all the time.
I saw that, yep. Someone knows about breath work in here. Okay, I see it. We're gonna keep it really simple. And I'm in the process of actually finishing up a breathwork certification, and this has been a massive unlock. So it's called gentle breathing. And what we do is oftentimes as women, we hold our breath. We brace for impact. We're waiting for something to kind of attack us. And when we're in these darker states or these more difficult time periods, we can feel that challenge. This is a way to get back into your body, get present, and get back into that allowance. So all we're gonna do, if you can, put both feet on the ground. I know we're leg crossers. Good, very good. Both feet on the ground. All you're gonna do is inhale gently through the nostrils for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowly exhale out the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 4, 3, 4. Exhale 6. Again. Exhale. Keep that pace. And while you're doing that, I want you to envision breathing even lighter. You're gonna chuckle with me, but like your nose hairs are barely moving. I'm Italian, so I got a lot of them. One more inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reset. My favorite thing about when we do this is even feeling the energy in the room shift a little bit. It's like everything just kind of softened. Like when you go to the lake at sunset and it's really nice and glassy and peaceful. It's a nice way to get your brain out of fight or flight and back into your body. And I would say anytime you're about to make a decision for your mental health or make a decision about how you feel about your mental health before you start to judge it, if you can get back to a state of just neutral breathing and give yourself that presence, it will help that decision making be a little bit easier. I know we have a lot of behavioral health people here. I know you all know about the amygdala. If we can try to get back out of fight or flight and into a more peaceful state, it helps with that. And so from there, it's searching and reaching out for connections in community, telling somebody that you love, or even opening up the door to say, hey, I'm kind of going through something. We are very, very lucky as women that we have this incredible innate ability to build community. I think it's in our blood to build those emotional bonds and connections. And it's also a responsibility for us to be that for the women around us. So when we're not feeling 100%, who can we go to? Who in our immediate circle do we have? And if we don't have someone or we're not ready to go to that circle, reaching out and finding a mental health therapist is fantastic. They can then help work with you. You can go to work with a psychologist and then even a psychiatrist if needed. The final thing I will say on this front, medication is not to be vilified. No. Mental health, just because it is not something you can physically see, does not mean that being on a medication or on any type of a drug makes you less than. I used to think that. And I would take myself off of my anxiety medication and I would reap the ill benefits of doing so and trying to play doctor for myself. If somebody has diabetes, you would never judge them for taking insulin. If somebody is dealing with recovery from a surgery, you would never judge them for needing a pain medication or something like that. So we need to change this narrative around, I should be able to do it myself.
Right, right. And sometimes, I mean, in the fitness world alone, it's like, oh, don't take anything, you know.
Be natural, all of it, yeah.
That's a tough thing.
Well, there's an expectation too, and I think we feel this as women as well, is we have to be everything already, right? God forbid you wear makeup or put on a dress and you feel good in it. And it's like, oh, well, she's trying too hard. No, God forbid you, okay, but if you don't do it and if you're natural, but you need to be more beautiful naturally. There's so many if this, then that, where it feels like we can't win. And what it goes back to is in finding that personal empowerment. And that comes from our own habits. It comes from how we treat ourselves, and it comes from how we talk to ourselves, that voice in our head, how we train that brain muscle to be kinder to ourselves so that we can show up in a way where all of that external narrative doesn't have as much power over our own self-perception.
Yeah. We know in this room today that we have a lot of people that work in high-pressure environments. Stress is real.
Stress is so real.
Every day.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so many times you have stress at work, and you have stress at home, and you have stress I mean, women by nature want to care and take care of all of that.
Yep.
and manage that stress. So what's your advice for how you get through that environment and the mental resilience, I guess, that we need to tap into?
Okay, I will fully admit this, and I think a lot of us can relate, and this is, again, a very woman response to having this level of stress. Oftentimes, I found I was stressing myself out with other people's problems so I could avoid taking care of my own. Anybody else?
Talk to me, sister.
Okay, great. You're not the only one, me too. Double high five.
Yeah.
Yes, and before I really started doing my own internal work on my mental health, I loved to preoccupy myself with everybody's problems. I loved to be mama bear of the friend group and like, no, this is wrong. He shouldn't be doing this. I got you, but I would be exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I kept putting off and running on fumes because I wasn't taking care of the source of where it was coming from, which was my own mental health, my own internal self. And so first off, I want to acknowledge women are doing more than they've ever done in history. And please be proud of yourself for how hard you're working and how you're able to show up in all these different ways and environments. I love that. And that bond, it is. If there's someone here that you're close with, tell the people around you, tell the women that you're inspired by that you see them. So often, a lot of times, women aren't able to feel seen when they're doing all of these other things, and it can feel like I'm just lost in the fray, and where did I go after serving everybody else first? There's that whole concept of you can't put, on an airplane, secure your mask before you put someone else's mask on. And there's some truth to that. There's some truth to being able to, okay, what are your practices? Doesn't have to be take a whole day. I'm not saying, hey, take a self-care day and have 8 hours of repetition, but it's micro habits and micro routines. So for example, first moment in the day, if you possibly can, dear God, please do not go on social media and don't look up your phone. Do not, I'm telling you, don't look at my social. Do not, please like and follow my YouTube at some point when you're in a good mental health state. We're trying to grow it and we'll have more conversations like this. But shameless plug aside, in the morning, do not. At least, please, at least an hour if you can, at least 30 minutes before you allow the world to tell you how you feel today. You control how you feel when you wake up in the morning. It's what you put in. So, for example, we all know the importance of skincare. We all know the importance of SPF. I learned a little late, but we're catching up. With our brains, it's the same thing. We need to prime our brains in the morning. So the first thing you think, it's a really beautiful state just after you wake up. It's a really gentle, really powerful time. I love to do 2 things. I gratitude journal. Keep it simple. 3 things I'm grateful for. I try to get specific. Oftentimes it's how warm the bed is, or oh wow, I hit snooze for another 10 minutes and I'm still gonna be okay because I did my hair last night. It might be things like that. But other times, if you can get even specific with how you're feeling or how the light's coming in the room, or that you had this beautiful dream, just trying to teach your brain to acknowledge goodness first thing. If you prime it with that, it will see it throughout the day, number 1. Number 2, if you have some form of spiritual practice, whether it's prayer, whether it's a little quiet time of meditation, maybe it's just, breathing deep, doing that 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale for a moment or 2. Give yourself that time, and then go on with your day. That little moment in the morning, if you can take that little brief break for you, that will start to compile, where you'll notice, hey, I'm overwhelmed. Let me take that little break. Let me go back midday after I'm stressed, go run to the bathroom, have a quick cry, and then say something I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Sounds wild, but the brain cannot be in a state of fear and of gratitude at the same time. It's absolutely impossible. Thank you, therapy, that taught me that. So if you are operating or trying to find gratitude, it's a way to essentially hack the system. You're hitting a hard override, saying this fear state that I'm in, this overwhelmed state that I'm in, if I can find something in this present moment that I'm grateful for, you can then take back that piece. You can recalibrate a bit, and that helps with that resilience in those moments.
And it's going to help you when you go into that stressful environment. If
Yes.
you know it's going to be a tough day, but if you face it with a different way, it's going to present to you differently.
It does, and you'll see opportunity differently, right? So much that's fascinating that I've learned through personal experience and so many times in therapy, and I'm sure I'll go back and get a neuroscience degree at some point because I'm so fascinated by all of this. But it's really incredible how our brain habits, no different than how I can teach anybody how to train their body and build muscles and build that resilience. The mental component of it is really fascinating. And when you're in a high stress environment, it's how are we training our brains and ourselves to find these little moments to deal in high stress environments. So you have to give it little stresses and little wins to get there. It's the same thing. If I'm going to build your muscle, I have to stress it out. I have to break your little muscle fibers a bit so that it can rebuild stronger. When you're in a high stress environment, it is an opportunity to then practice finding gratitude or being able to take a breath for 5 minutes or remove yourself from the situation for a moment. Get back to whatever that personal habit is, that 4-second inhale, that 6-second exhale for 2 minutes. Nobody needs to know. I love a bathroom. I love having a cry in a bathroom. I love going to the bathroom and walking away. But trying to integrate that into the day can be very, very helpful.
Absolutely. It makes such good sense to all of us. We know we have some leaders and managers in this room. We want to know what are tangible ways they can create a culture that really supports that mental health when employees do feel vulnerable, exposed, or just in a dark place.
Really, leadership starts from the top. And it's exemplified by how people act and how people treat each other. I've been in very large corporations and 2 massive startups, and I've seen both the highs and lows of that. And what's key is, remember, everyone, yes, you have a task and you have a job, but you're people first. You are human beings having a human being experience, and you're working together. Whatever is thrown at you, you guys are a team, you're a unit to get through it. So if you're leading your team, what's important is acknowledging maybe your own vulnerabilities. I learned this with Peloton, and I knew that if I wanted people to have a lot of fun in class, I had to be extra crazy. Y'all can attest. Or like if I wanted you to bang your head in a metal class, I would need you to I would have to go to that extent. I would have to lead by going 2 to 3x what I hope someone else could get the experience of. And I think the same thing goes in leadership with teams and in speaking about mental health and creating that healthier environment. Nobody likes to be like, how are you feeling today really? And you don't feel comfortable with your boss yet. And you're not going to tell them that. That's a little invasive. But being able, if somebody is leading a team and is saying, hey guys, I had a really tough week and I need your support today because I have some stuff going on at home. And being able to show that humanity allows the opportunity for the people around you to do the same. So it really is leading from the front. It's being able to be that person that can acknowledge what's going on and normalizing that it's okay to acknowledge when we're having a less than ideal day.
I love that. I saw something recently that said, tell every college grad, worry less about finding the job with a big paycheck and instead find a job with a great boss.
Yes, if you can. And
If
sometimes you can't.
And I'm like, that's not
And
always
it's great
easy,
for learning.
But I think
true.
it would change your whole view of the rest of your career. You know?
Yeah, it's wanting to be, sometimes we get lucky and we have wonderful positive environments like that. And then sometimes we're put in situations where we're not in a positive environment. And there is an opportunity then to say, okay, if this soil is a little toxic and I can only grow to X extent, how can I refine myself then? How can I build my own personal resilience habits that make this tolerable while I have to be here? And it's not the fun thing to say, but you can't always just quit because it's bad. I've been in that position where I'm like, ooh, well, I need this paycheck, so I have to, survive in this existence. But it is true. If you can find that right fit, if you can find that right community, or find people that share that understanding of kind of keeping the humanity at the front, I think that's key.
There are a lot of people that feel stuck. I think we've all felt stuck at some point in our life saying, I don't know what it is. It's my personal life, it's my career, I'm just stuck. Even our fitness journey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, plateaus are real. They're very, very real. Yeah.
So, what do you do to just take that first step?
Full transparency, I am between obviously my chapter at Peloton and what I'll be announcing come early fall at late summer. And I felt a little bit of this energy too, because when you're in that position, it's like, what is next? How do I get there? Yeah. Am I evolving? Am I growing? What's really wonderful about being stuck is that it's an opportunity to go internal and say, okay, what is causing this? And then how can I change my habits? How can I put something new in the game? Maybe you're just too in routine. So my encouragement to anybody who's feeling stuck, be a beginner at something, and something that's low stakes. Not something that you need to necessarily, not everything needs to be a side hustle. Not everything needs to be a social media endeavor or a new business. No, become a beginner. Learn tennis. I'm trying to learn tennis. It is so hard. Racket sports are tough, you guys. And I have a significant other who's unbelievably adept at it, and it's infuriating. But what's great about it is that it's teaching me mental resilience. It's teaching me the enjoyment of being a beginner again. And I think as adults and as women, we get so comfortable or feel the pressure to be good at everything.
Yeah.
And I'm at this age and this state in life, so I should be. It's the should vocabulary that starts to come up, and whenever we start saying should to ourselves, that should be your little red flag alert, like, the pressures are coming high, why am I thinking this way? But allowing your brain to try something new, pick up a new sport. Pickleball, people, it's great. You have a ton of community. It's a great way to have a little bit of competition and movement. But yeah, I would say trying something new and allowing yourself to be a beginner and giving yourself grace through that process can help open up a new pathway to where you'll start seeing different perspectives in the kind of rote routine that you have.
I think the breathing alone, just hearing you is like giving us all, it has changed the energy in the room today and made us really think. So I think we would like to end with what is that final piece of motivation or wisdom, maybe, that you have to share with this audience. I love what you've touched on about how you've evolved and you love and respect all stages of your life. I think we all need to get there. But how do you motivate or give us that piece of wisdom that we need to leave with?
I love this question because every time I go into a different room, some version of this is usually asked, and the response always changes, depending on kind of how it feels. And I would say with this, you have such high achievers in here, you have such hard workers, you have people who are navigating such high stress environments and doing wonderful things for other people and are truly like service workers and care about giving back. I would say you don't need to be more than what you are right now. Like there's so much pressure on women to be more and be better and be this and achieve that. How about we sit with where we are right now and be really proud of what that means and what that is? Because when that, again, it's kind of practicing in that moment of gratitude. You don't need to be more. If you want more, hell yeah, go fight for it, go get it. I will cheer you on every step of the way. I will yell at you from whatever fitness platform I'm on and how we do it and help you get there. But maybe you just don't need to be more. Maybe you just need to be present with yourself and be damn proud of everything you've done up to this point. That's my thought.
Love that. So I do want to make sure, because you touched on some of those things. How can people find you socially? I do want to say that before we leave, because there are some great things that you can offer every single day. After we do our gratitude journal, then we can look for you. Okay?
Yes. And I'll be sharing more and more of this stuff. I'm very excited for what will be to come. I hate that I can't talk about it publicly yet, but
hard.
Lawyers, sorry if there's any lawyers in here. Y'all are great, but you scare me. No, so you can follow me. It's just my first and last name, Kendall Toole, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. It's Toole with an E. Long story. Some brothers got in a fight and someone kept the O and one dropped the O. I don't know. Sassy Irish people. But yes, so feel free to follow me on any of those platforms. And then I would also love and welcome you, wink, wink, nod, nod, to follow at NKO Club. So NKO stands for Never Knocked Out. It was how we would close out my classes. It's my dad's family motto. And it's something that has reflected my own life, mental health journey, that they can knock us down, but they can never knock us out. Because where the win comes from is in choosing to get back up and keep going. And so we will be announcing some really incredible stuff there very, very soon and have more ways to connect. So Kendall Toole and NKO Club, and that is my shameless plug of the day.
Well, we love where you are right now,
Thank you.
and we can't wait to see where you are in 10 years. And we can't wait to be a part of that and ourselves too. Love where we are right now, and then see where we are and look back.
That would be, yes, because this just hit me. My biggest takeaway from my mental health is that for many, many years, I wasn't present in what was. And I was living in some other version. And there's a lot of wonderful years of my life in college with Kelly, who we both know, who I wish I remembered things a little bit more. I wish I was more present. And if there's anything that I can encourage with you guys now about being where you are, it's that you want to feel everything. And even if it's a low feeling, what a gift it is to be human and to be able to feel that and experience that. And you'd rather look back in life and say, damn, I felt it all. I really was there for it, rather than have those moments of fade out. So please understand that whether where we are now is more than enough. Where we're going to be is fantastic. But if we can enjoy and be more present in what is, we'll just be more fulfilled in the long term.
We all needed this, did we not? We needed Kendall. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really needed this.
Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.
You're amazing.
I'll give you a hug.
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce today's panel and to moderate today's discussion. We already had a Kim and a Kendall and a McCourtney, so we know we have a Kardashian vibe going on, but we have other names on stage now. So let me introduce you to today's panelists. Alana Brandis is the Chief People Officer at Guild, a Denver-based upskilling company that helps businesses connect employees with education resources. There, she leads efforts to attract, develop, engage, and retain top talent while fostering an environment where employees can contribute the best work of their careers. Next up is Cami Cable, VP of People Operations and Compensation at Intermountain Health. Feel free to cheer. Yeah, they're your teams. Her role is responsible for overseeing and optimizing critical human resources functions like caregiver compensation frameworks, organizational design, health system optimization, integration efforts, and more. We will learn some more specifics about your role. Those are some big words. Chelsea Carver is Chief Strategy and Resource Development Officer at Mile High United Way. There, she oversees inclusive and sustainable resource development efforts to achieve the community impact goals for the organization. Get ready for this list of responsibilities. She leads all fundraising, grants, events, donor engagement, marketing, and volunteerism efforts, raising and deploying more than $33 million annually. And Governor Jared Polis recently appointed Chelsea to the state's Early Childhood Leadership Commission. So congratulations. Next up, we have Alethea Gomez, who serves as the Colorado Executive Director for Executives Partnering to Invest in Children, or EPIC, as many in the room know. It is the business community's advocate for early childhood investment in the workplace and in our communities. Her studies and her work, both in early education and business for more than 15 years, have equipped her with a unique ability to understand and represent the needs and support structures for business owners, educators, and families. Thank you to this group. Let's give them a round of applause before we get started. As I was seeking out panelists for today's discussion, I wanted people in our community who think of health creatively, especially women's health. We know that it touches way more than just our physical beings. It's our minds, as we heard in the previous discussion. And our work is a big part of our lives. So we wanted to talk about strategies and ways that we can integrate mental health, physical health, and other support throughout our careers in this discussion. So to start off, I give a little introduction about what you do, but your organizations, for those who aren't familiar with them, touch people just beyond the people you employ. Can you tell us a little bit about that reach and what your work includes? I'll start with Lana.
Sure, yeah, thank you. So Courtney did a great job giving a high-level overview, but Guild is an organization that partners with employers to help them build the talent that they need today, and also ensure that they have the workforce for tomorrow. Really, we do this by providing access to skilling and education opportunities for employees, as well as coaching supports to ensure that employees are able to get the most out of those resources and persist and actually attain any of the certifications, the programs that they're looking to complete to drive and fuel their careers, and also through providing talent insights to the organizations themselves so that they know and have a deep understanding of the talent that they have within their walls, so that they can drive that mobility and make sure that they are truly future ready in terms of the talent that they have. And Guild works with some of the largest employers in the country, and increasingly more healthcare organizations, as we've really partnered to help healthcare companies think through how to drive talent mobility internally, which has been such a massive opportunity within the healthcare space.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Cami with Intermountain Health. One of the benefits, I guess, with being the sponsor is just replay the video. Totally kidding. But maybe to share a little bit more specifically about women's and health, and couldn't be more honored to have our organization support this. We recently, so with my health system optimization role, we recently merged with SCL Health in 2022, which brought our organizations together and brought Intermountain Health to the Denver region as well as some other areas as well. And that brought together two very strong organizations who are committed to health overall and women's health. And you heard Melissa talk about behavioral health, which is a key component, and Kendall also talked about the importance of mental health, and women tend to have to be on point all the time, and I feel like we've done a great job as an organization to open up that space to have those conversations. So we are 68,000, caregivers. That's our employees. We refer to them as caregivers strong, of which 74% of them are women, which is pretty incredible. So while being in healthcare, it's important to take care of women's health in the communities. 74% of our population are people that serve the community every day. So it's really important for us to focus on that. And then another unique thing for us is we have flex work, which is a flexible work strategy, which was largely driven from the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we've seen the opportunity and the benefit that it's provided all of our caregivers, predominantly women, which of the 10,000 remote caregivers we have, 60% of them happen to be women. And so our organization continues to look for creative ways to provide space and opportunity and flexibility to meet women where they're at in their life, and also help to promote their overall wellness.
Fabulous. I'm Chelsea Carver with Mile High United Way. When I was approached about this panel, what I was so excited about is, we are 138 years old. We are the very first United Way in the whole world, which I think speaks to the power of who Coloradans are, right? Like, we harness women, men, children, faith community to bring folks together. We have three key issues that we think are the key to a thriving community: making sure that kids are entering kindergarten ready to succeed, looking at academic success, whether that's post-career, secondary education, whatever that might be, and then really putting a stake in the ground that every single family deserves the opportunity to be self-sufficient. And when you're thinking about health, when you're thinking about this topic, all of those pieces go into that whole person. And so this was really exciting, I think, because not only are there some incredible things that United Way is doing in the company, and I've been there almost 19 years, and I'm incredibly proud of how we've evolved as a family-friendly workplace, but thinking about what health looks like for the folks that we serve is a really interesting topic that I'm excited to dig into today.
Yeah, thank you so much. So as Courtney stated, EPIC advocates for childcare solutions in the workplace. And we know that that balance is particularly acute for women, right? The International Labor Organization found that across the globe, 700 million women were unable to rejoin the workforce last year due to unpaid caregiving responsibilities. And those numbers are felt right here in Colorado as well. We partnered recently with the Common Sense Institute to release a report that showed that there are tens of thousands of women who are sidelined from the workforce right here in Colorado, and that would otherwise be engaged in the workforce if they had support to take care of their children and their families. Were just 10,000 of those women to return to the workforce, it could have almost a $4 billion impact on Colorado's GDP. So this is more than a personal issue, this is an economic issue, and EPIC will continue to strive for supports led by business leaders, led by our community and civic leaders, that acknowledges that that balance is critical, not only today to our women, but to the future of our society. And so delighted to be a part of this panel and continue to represent that priority.
Thank you. I would like to just ask the audience, please raise your hand if your child is in daycare today, and you can be here. That's so important to us so we can be engaged in our community. It's important to me to be engaged in my work. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and we will touch more on childcare, I am sure. I'd love to learn more about your organizations and how they view health and women's health specifically as a priority. Tell me what that looks like. Anyone want to hop in?
I'm happy to continue. EPIC is a small organization. We just have 9 employees right now. And all of our leadership team happens to be women. And so we have an opportunity to both advocate for this outwardly, but practice that inwardly. At EPIC, we ensure that our employees are empowered to have flexible schedules and work environments, that we're in control of the tasks and responsibilities that are provided to us, and that we collaborate and engage in an open dialogue about how we are doing. We know that mental health leave of absences experienced a surge between 2017 and 2023 at about 300%. And almost 2/3 of those leave of absences were taken by women. And so I think when we consider that data point, and to Kendall's point earlier, right, it starts from the leadership down, right? How can we exemplify to others that not only are we achieving so much in our workplaces and at home, but how are we paying attention to our personal needs and our well-being throughout that process? And so that's something that's very important at EPIC, and that I'm so grateful that our CEO, Nicole Reel, really prioritizes for us. And it's something that, you know, we want to make sure is visible to others as we advocate for these types of supports.
I can speak a little bit about Guild and something that I think is generally so critical for organizations to do. And I spend a lot of time thinking about this in my role, but in terms of best supporting women in the workplace, I think on one side of the coin, it's critical that you have the programs in place, the supports in place, the resources in place that recognize the different needs that an employee might have throughout their life cycle. And one employee who's employed for 4 years is going to have very different kind of life stages that they go through during that time. So I think the criticality of optionality within those resources and not over-indexing to a certain population or a certain need is really critical. That means staying really close to your workforce. It means having a constant flow of inputs and data and feedback and being really close to like what's happening in the market. How can we make sure that we are providing the best possible access? But I also believe that that's really only half of the battle. I think the other half of the battle is the culture that an organization creates. And when I think about the role that women play and how likely it is for a woman to be in a caregiver role in some capacity within their life, even if it's a management role within an organization. I think that as a company, if you can embrace caregiving as a superpower as opposed to as a burden to bear or a weight to carry, it makes all of the difference in creating a culture where women can thrive, can use those supports, can take that time off, can do what they need to do to balance their families, their children, their aging parents, whatever it is, with their careers. Then I think that that's how you really create a thriving culture of well-being for women at work.
I might follow up with that because Guild actually was the impetus for one of what I think is our best contributions to the community that I've seen come out of United Way in a while. Nonprofits are mainly women, and mainly women of childbearing age. And I cannot tell you the number of times I would have members of my team be strong, like incredible women, and then have to take a step back because they couldn't find or they couldn't afford childcare. And that's speaking for women with resources and privilege. As we looked out in the community, the neighborhood that we're in, which is Curtis Park, 5 Points, it's a childcare desert, right? So there are 3 or more children who need childcare for every 1 slot that exists. And so you think about these children are not evaporating into the ether, right? They're somewhere, they're being cared for by someone. And a lot of times, to Alethia's point, it's because, mom has had to opt out of the workforce. And so we actually looked at Guild's on-site childcare when we started thinking about where was another place that we could step in to support the community. And they gave us some incredible inspiration to open our Tamara M. Sparks Early Learning Center in our building. But what I love about that is we took the fabulous things we learned from Guild. So for our employees, Mile High United Way subsidizes that benefit so that families are only paying $250 a month so that they can have kids in childcare. I know, it was too late for my baby.
Where was that when I had kids?
I know, right? My CEO was like, do you want to have another one just to take advantage? No, that was the answer, no. But the point of this is not just that it's for our employees, but we wanted this to be available for women who may not have other resources or families who didn't have resources. So you look at it on a tiered enrollment system, so low-income families are getting priority. And we're thinking about health from the standpoint of it's not just childcare, right? If you don't have enough to maybe pay for childcare, chances are there are other things that are falling through the cracks. And so as a community, how do you wrap your arms around a family and offer food assistance or offer utility assistance, whatever that might be? And so many thanks to Guild. But I do think honoring that women are doing so much more than we have ever been asked to do, ever, and we're doing it really well. But you can't do it without support and without the support from your employer and your village.
Yeah, no, and I would agree with everything the panels have said. And I think when I think about Intermountain Health, and what we've done is really taken a look at our caregiver as a holistic person. And we recognize there's moments that matter throughout their life journey. Some of them are the big moments we all think about, having kids, those types of things. But there's also the little moments that matter. And so one of the things that, with COVID-19 in particular, healthcare was in the face of it. And burnout was a real thing for our staff, our nurses, our physicians, our respiratory therapists. And all of us in this room had our own challenges with it, but it definitely hit healthcare pretty direct from a healthcare worker perspective. And so I go back to the mental health component and really what can an employer do? And I really think it is about creating a space and helping to demystify what mental health is. Kendall mentioned there are times where you do need to take prescriptions to address that, and that's okay, and it should not be shamed. But it also should be okay that we go through life's journeys, and it's hard sometimes. And so I might just need some additional support. So we made a decision as an organization, and it was met a little bit candidly with a lot of pessimism of like, yeah, I don't think that will work. But we actually embedded our employee assistant program counselors within 14 of our 33 hospitals, and they're available for the caregivers to go and seek real-time care in the moment and support. And they're busy, and we have now care sites asking for more. And what's been interesting to watch this was not the reason we did it, it's just an outcome that came because of it. The care sites that actually have those embedded EAP counselors, we're seeing higher levels of engagement from the caregivers because we're demonstrating to them that we care about you and all that you're going through, and we need your whole self at work. So we need to help wrap around how we can help you take care of that, because we realize life is busy outside of work as well.
Can we talk about some of the specifics that your organizations offer? We're talking about boots on the ground, someone there to talk through this life situations. Can we talk about phases and the offerings that you have so this community can take some ideas back or some asks maybe?
Yeah, it's a whole plethora. When I was looking at this, I always continue to be amazed at how incredible the organization has. And, we've been talking a lot about it. It starts from the top down. Many of you have probably heard the financial headwinds that many organizations are facing, and healthcare is at the epicenter of that. While we continue to be committed to be good stewards to make sure that we're providing affordable care to our patients and our community, we recognize there are investments that we need to make as an organization, and we have full support from our senior leadership team to do that. So I share that because I continue to be amazed with all the different variety of offerings that we have and how we continue to reinvest dollars to help what we're dealing with. But one of the new offerings that I love that we actually introduced a couple of years ago is our medical assistance premium program. So we recognize that healthcare can be expensive from a medical premium standpoint, and being in healthcare, we don't get a discount. We still pay the competitive market wage. But that can be costly for people, particularly starting their careers, or if you've gone through where you've gotten laid off or your significant other has. So what we've done is implemented a program where our caregivers who meet a certain threshold of an affordable living metric, they can actually apply for medical premium assistance. And by doing so, if they're approved, we cover 75% of their medical premiums so that they continue to have access to care that they need, and again, in order to their whole self, showing up to work. And it's been a tremendous benefit that has benefited so many of our caregivers across all of the regions we support.
That's amazing. To build on that, and as Chelsea brought up before, which I love, we opened an on-site childcare in 2020 called the Beehive, and essentially that came from the realization that one, Guild's workforce was 60% female, and there was I think at the time 65 or 70%. My stats are not as good as yours, Alethea. Of women with children under 5 were in the workforce.
Right.
And so I believe that an organization has a critical role to play in supporting women in those circumstances, and that was one of the paths that we chose. I think some of the other areas are, fertility benefits and thinking about women through, again, all phases of life cycle. So whether it's fertility, whether it's postpartum, whether it's menopause, whatever it might be, caregiving of children, caregiving of elderly. So many of us are sitting in this sandwich generation where we're doing both simultaneously. And I think all of the mental health that comes along with that. And what I would say, most passionate about, both by nature of who I am as a human and what Guild does as an organization, is provide access to ongoing learning and development opportunities and skill building, reskilling, upskilling, that is of critical importance to women who want to continue to grow their careers and have ambitions and also have caregiving responsibilities. And so I think something that often holds women back from getting that degree, from going back to school, from earning a certification, whatever it might be, is time constraints and financial constraints. And so when an organization can play a role in helping to solve for those challenges, they absolutely should. And that's something that is kind of at the core of Guild's mission.
One of the things that I would want to make sure everyone who doesn't know about it knows once you leave today, United Way has a 211 helpline. So it's like 911, but for any health and human service need you might have. Free, confidential. We have 170 different languages that we can call in a live translator to have that conversation. I know we've worked with healthcare companies in the past when they have patients that are speaking a language they may not have a translator on site. But what's really incredible and scary is last year we took 170,000 phone calls from Coloradans calling to say, I can't feed my kids tonight, I'm about to be evicted, I can't pay utilities, and 60% of all of those calls were women and women with children. So when you're thinking about the role that an employer has, 211 is an incredible resource. We had a table back there today. I think some of my colleagues are here. But they're trained not only in that first ask, right? So when you call and you're like, I don't have food tonight. Cool, but there's probably a reason you don't have food tonight. Maybe it's because you lost your job and you could use some upskilling. And so they're trained in that second ask to not only address whatever that person has called for at that moment, but also how do we put you on a path to success, on a trajectory that will make you more self-sufficient. So I would love for everyone to make sure that's something you're offering to your employees. We will follow up. We will make sure that they are getting the resources they need. But that's just a free plug here for an awesome service.
Yeah, you should. So EPIC was actually started by a very small group of CEOs, not all of them women, one of them being Christine Bonero, CEO at Mile High United Way. And for the first 10 years that we were in business, it was very much business leader to business leader, right? You should prioritize this. You should advocate for investment. But at some point, we recognized that engaging larger employers, right, larger business leaders, really small business to large business, and building their awareness and understanding of how childcare not only impacts the bottom line, but impacts their ability to attract and retain their employees, the ability of those employees to be productive at work and to feel balanced in their mental health and well-being was a critical platform that we could stand on and advocate for more broadly. And so I'm proud to say that Guild was our very first client, and so we got a chance to have a hand in the beehive, as well as subsequently supporting Mile High United Way in their initial thoughts to implement their on- and near-site childcare centers. So we couldn't be more proud of the work that's happened there. And how that's been amplified and really has inspired others, right? Mile High United Way, in the same vein, has inspired a lot of others to think about that. So what do we do at Epic? One of the most important things we do is we keep the door open. And as Alana said, I'm chock full of stats today. Nationwide, less than 30% of women feel comfortable talking about their mental health with their employers, compared to about 50% of men, right? And so this is one of those areas that people just probably won't approach you about on their own. And for the HR professionals in the room, what's the off-limit question during the interview? Do you have children, right? And what do you need to take care of those children? And so there are natural barriers that are set up that prevent us from speaking about the realities and how that impacts our life. And so, again, as Kendall was saying earlier, how can we lead by example? How can we ensure that people feel comfortable approaching their leadership, approaching their colleagues about what they need to feel balanced in their work, and how impactful that is on not only where we decide to work, but how we engage, for how long, and at what level. And when we feel supported, all data points to the incredible things that we can achieve. And so just that small thing on our small team really helps, I think, to keep us together.
You know, we heard about having great bosses before. A personal anecdote from my experience going through IVF and fertility struggles, my personal workplace was so supportive, and I made a conscious decision to have that discussion with my management so they knew where I was and where my mental state was. And it also allows me to be a different leader in my newsroom. We had a little baby boom after mine, which I can't do credit for, but it's really great to be able to support people in the way I was supported in my journey. Can you talk about any examples in your workplaces of positive support and leading by example to get those benefits and the support that you need?
I can share a personal example, and I appreciate the example that you just shared. I went through 2 pregnancies and deliveries during my time at Guild, and this also speaks to just the different kind of experiences that one employee will have. The same thing, right? 2 pregnancies, two healthy deliveries, but I could not have been in a different place mentally, physically, emotionally after each of those pregnancies and then coming back to the workplace. And a lot of that had to do with, I think, broadly the culture of the organization, but very specifically my boss and my team at the time. And I think that the first time around, I came back, I was a shell of myself. I was lacking confidence. I felt nervous to take time away from work and be open about that. I felt like I had to hide it when I had to take my kid to an appointment during the workday. And I think it made that mental burden that much heavier, and I shrank professionally at that time because of it. And then I think, fast forwarding to the second pregnancy and maternity leave, I think that, I won't say that this is all tied to the workplace, but I think the difference in culture, now being part of the team and the role where I actually was helping to set some of this culture, and that leadership, our CEO is a strong female mother, and as my boss, she gave me the space over maternity leave, which was a really beautiful thing. But I came back with confidence, and I came back man, I'm raising 2 kids, I can do anything. I can do this job. I can come back from maternity leave. And the perspective of what matters, how to simplify, how to cut through the noise and the bullshit to just get stuff done, which man, moms are good at that. And so I share that to say there are, even within the same workplace, you really see the difference in an organization that embraces caregiving and one that kind of sees it as just something to deal with, something to be managed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'd add, you alluded to earlier, kind of the sandwich generation. So my two kids are raised, and I'm enjoying empty nesting. Love my whole life with them. But as I think about the sandwich generation and kind of dealing with either young kids and aging parents, and I had, my dad passed away at my prior organization, not this organization, but I felt so supported that through all of his cancer treatments, I could be there. It didn't matter. There was never a question. It was always 100% support. To when he passed away and I was at the funeral, they actually in a meeting had everyone go silent because we knew each other that well. And they said, I hope you feel that. So fast forward to Intermountain Health, because I want to bring it to the current employer. We had a dear colleague of mine who we worked together. We might as well just be attached to the hips in some respects. But we worked together, and her dad was going through a similar situation. And we just said, we got your back. Like, just go be with your family. We will cover, we will pinch hit, we will wrap around you. And she came back after that experience and had shared, her appreciation. That's not the reason I'm sharing this story, but what she shared is what her boss did, which I think is so pivotal, is she told her boss that, I'm just having a hard time. My dad's not doing well. I'm not sure how much longer we had him. Her boss ended the call and said, you go be with your dad. Work can wait. And she said, I will forever be grateful for that leader, and I will never question anything they ask me to do. So I think it's those moments where the dividends pay themselves forward, and really there will always be more work to do. And so just leaders in the room, and women and men supporting each other, just think about the moments that really matter and what really is important and what can wait.
I love that we have a healthcare company on this panel, because I will tell you, if you had talked to me growing up, like the one thing that I wanted to do more than anything was be a mom, and I was convinced I was going to be the best mom ever. And then I had my son, and I didn't know what to do with him, and I was sad, and I had no idea why, and I couldn't connect with him, and everybody said, isn't this the best thing you've ever done? And I just smiled and was like, yeah, it really is. And I remember sitting in my son's pediatrician's office, and she looked at me and she goes, I'm gonna hold your baby, and you're gonna walk down the hall, and you're gonna talk to someone. I would never have made it into a therapist's office otherwise, because I can do it. Like, that would be admitting that I was a crappy mom. And so when I got back to the office, I was mortified to tell everybody that, like, it was not what I thought it was gonna be. And my boss at the time pulled me aside and she said, you are exactly where you are supposed to be, and people will be better for it because you were going to lead in this fashion. And so I think about that a lot now as I have staff members who are going through these life changes, and those two people who presented themselves in a way that pushed me to accept who I was and own that power for someone else, make that path lighter for someone else. I think that's the thing that I have tried to hold on to, is people don't necessarily know what to ask for, and it takes a strong leader to step in and say, I'm ending this phone call, I'm giving you space, go. That's what I would lead with.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Kendall talked earlier about that feeling that she had on the rooftop of being a burden. And there's a lot of stigma around not only being truthful and open about what you're going through mentally, physically, relative to your work, but there's also a lot of natural barriers, as I was talking about earlier. So happy to share a personal story and then talk a little bit about sort of building the ship as we're flying it at Epic. A few years ago, I was pregnant for the second time, and that should be a moment of joy. That should be a moment of revelation, right, of feeling really great. But the first thing that I thought of when I realized I was pregnant was, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna adjust our schedules? What are we going to do? We can, barely manage right now, and how am I going to ask for this? I just started a new job. All of those logistical thoughts were the first thing to enter my mind. It created a lot of stress during the pregnancy. For whatever reason, I miscarried the child at 11 weeks. And through that experience, I took my leader aside and I talked to her about the experience. And even though, as I mentioned, we've been given an incredible flexible schedule and all of these things, the stress of being able to bring that child into the world, care for them in the way that I truly wanted to, weighed very heavily on me and my family for several months. Now, those types of losses happen all the time, right? We know that, and I know now that the stress of that did not cause that to happen, but it spurred a conversation inside of our organization to ensure that experience was really well supported. Not long after, another one of our team members got pregnant. It was a really happy time, and she was supported in both taking maternity leave and returning to work on her own terms, outside of any company policy or standard family leave that's offered, and that enabled her to both stay in our organization and advance in our organization. And that safety, right, not feeling like a burden and being able to be open, right, about what you're experiencing is just one of the greatest gifts I think we can give.
Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing your personal stories. I really appreciate that. I want to end on a positive note because we should. What is your number one health-related recommendation that leaders can take, whether they're an employee or a department head or in charge of their organization right now? What would you advise them to think about as they are developing their business strategy or in their next big meeting? Took a breath and you want to think about it?
So many thoughts.
I think I got it.
So many thoughts.
Whether you are, you work for an organization where you have responsibility or the opportunity to influence programs, or you are an individual who is thinking about yourself and how to grow your careers, find an employer or be an employer who makes it possible for women to achieve the careers that they can achieve. And do that through the culture that you build or that you seek out. Do that through the supports that you provide. Make it not just possible, but make it your goal to support women and not having to make sacrifices because of the nature of what it means to be a woman living in the world, operating in this space today. And you will be so proud of that. You will retain the most loyal, high-performing, ambitious employees, or if it's you, I think you will achieve things that you never dreamed that you achieved. So organizations, just take that seriously, and I think you will see those dividends paid again and again and again.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I would add to that is just challenging all of you to think creatively. You know, if we think about the current labor force that is in front of us, we have one of the largest populations leaving the workforce, and it's not being renewed at the same rate of pace. So the true reality is we will have a labor shortage. And so you can choose to ignore that and just continue to stick by this tried and true, this is all we can do, the traditional leave, those types of things, but you're missing out on an untapped labor market that wants to work, wants to be successful, wants to be here, but they may challenge some of your traditional thinking. So I would say think innovatively, think about how you reimagine work to meet people where they're at, as well as address whatever business need you may be in. And then I also think about how do you tell the story that talks about the investment and some of the programs that, you know, some of us have shared up here today. You know, you go to your finance people, and if any of my finance people here, you're my best friends. You're like on the other side of my hip with the story I told earlier. But sometimes it is squishy, because it's like we had cost avoidance, or this had an ROI of X. Well, it's hard because it's not bottom line ROI. But if you can look at retention, you know, Intermountain Health, we're so grateful. We have some of the lowest vacancy rates of open positions for RNs. We didn't just get there because we're Intermountain Health and we pay a fair marketable wage. We got there because we've been intentional about how do we meet that 74% and honestly the full caregiver, you know, male or female. We got there being intentional to say, what do we need to help support our workforce to make sure they can show up, bring them their whole selves to work, and be able to balance everything that life throws their way, because the adage of work-life balance, it's not real. Work-life integration really is what's going to happen, and so how do you think about that as an employer? And it's sometimes going to challenge conventional ways of thinking.
Well, you took my answer, so I'm trying to think of something to add. But I would just say that no one shows up from 8 to 5 as just the person who works, right? And so I think that there is something to be said for authenticity in leadership when you acknowledge everything that that person brings with them is not only a part of what makes them a human being and inherently valuable because of that, but an inherently valuable asset to your team. And I think one of the things that I try and think about is, you know, does the caregiver side or the dog mom side, like, what is it that is bringing to my team? Does that mean they're more empathetic? Does that mean they're better at balancing things? And how do I harness that power rather than looking at that as something that is taking away from work time?
Yeah, I'm so glad that the entire spectrum of care is being brought up here, from early life to old age. I would say 3 things. 1, you don't have to be a leader to impact someone's life. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have suffered greatly to share your story and inspire others. And if you leave here with anything today, I want you to leave curious about how this is impacting your organization and your workplace, and curious about what you, yes, every single one of you, can do to support and help, because that's what really ends up making a difference in the end.
Wow, thank you so much for the insights. We greatly appreciate your time here today. Let's give our panelists a round of applause.
Nice work.